the basic premise of this paper was to look at, you know, what happens in terms of the production of music when you have music released onto the internet and you have different people who are then taking that music and kind of producing their own renditions of that record. And so Jay-Z's Black Album, which was released, I believe, in '03, was supposed to be his final record, his kind of swan song, if you will. And I make the argument that it's a swan song in a certain kind of context, because I think that Jay-Z is the first rapper in some ways to incorporate a kind of hustler aesthetic into music culture, where that hustler suffers from a kind of existential crisis. And so you see Jay-Z, you know, even from the outset of his career on Reasonable Doubt, kind of making this distinctions on wax between kind of Jay-Z, the MC, and Sean Carter, the kind of human being. And so, you know, he records this kind of album, the Black Album, working with producers like Kanye West, Just Blaze, Pharrell Williams. And he has this crazy idea when he's in the recording studio, and the producers who are working with him don't quite get it. And you know, he's just kind of in the studio kind of playing vocals to these songs. And he's like, you know, don't you see what the implications are? And the producers actually don't see the image. They don't get the vision. And so later on, Jay-Z actually releases a acapella version of the Black Album. And what ends up happening shortly after the release of the acapella album is that you have all of these renditions of Jay-Z's Black Album being released. The most famous one, which is Danger Mouse's rendition of the Black Album, Fade to Grey. But you also have renditions released by the producers from the Cunning Linguist called the Brown and Tan album, the Brown album. You also have kind of mashup records like the Double Black Album, which posits the vocals from Jay-Z's Black Album with Metallica's Black Album. And so I kind of pose the kind of argument that if you look at Lawrence Lessig's text on remix cultures, that these kind of distinctions that he draws between read-only cultures and read-write cultures, what these actual different renditions of Jay-Z's albums do, as it kind of posits a third analytical framework from which to look at these different ways of producing culture in the mainstream. And so I argue that outside of these distinctions of read-only and read-write culture, that you have a listen-write culture of sorts. And that what this does, by all these kind of different renditions of Jay-Z's Black Album being released through the internet, some of which are actually more harder to find than the other. I think the only kind of commercial version of these mashup records was released by Danger Mouse. But you kind of have the kind of cultivation in some ways of not only community online in terms of people having their kind of own aesthetics that reflect the kind of geographic, a particular kind of cultural value ascribed to music production, but it is also kind of this cultivation and creation of a kind of a sort of techno-national community. And it would have been great if I would have had the citations from Lessig to kind of contextualize these arguments. And so I focus on two songs in particular, which is What More Can I Say and My First Song. And the song, What More Can I Say, I don't know if I can actually play, I think I actually can play a version of What More Can I Say. I can't do that, I can't provide. Okay, so this is What More Can I Say by Jay-Z. And I want to get to the particular verse because I think that the way that Harold Bloom talks about these kind of maps of misreading, I think Jay-Z acknowledges this in this song when he explicitly quotes verbatim one of Biggie's verses from one of his songs. So, Okay, so you have that one line where Jay-Z suggests, and so the rings and things you sing about, bring them out. It's hard to yell when the barrel's in your mouth. And so you have that song juxtaposed with, let's see. And the production and the song is taken straight from Biggie. This is a song recorded in 1997. Okay, this is Jay-Z, Biggie's verse. Okay, so you have this kind of signifying where you have Jay-Z kind of quoting verbatim Biggie Smalls in this track, What More Can I Say? But in one of the renditions of Jay-Z's Black Album, somebody did a kind of DJ Premier version of the record, and what you have is not only the production that matches the instrumental, but the part where Jay-Z says, and so the rings and things you sing about, bring them out. This person actually recorded the vocals so that Jay-Z and Biggie's voice is heard at the same time in this rendition of the Black Album. And so the argument that I make with this song in particular is that if you think about the kind of vocals of that song, it kind of changes the listening experience, so that if you're thinking about this kind of relationship of kind of paying homage and signifying that you're forced to question the kind of place of Jay-Z within the realm of popular culture. And so what is this kind of moment where you hear kind of Jay-Z articulating Biggie Smalls' music into the mainstream? That's one example that I used in the text. The other example is a song that I draw from my first song, which is the final song on the Black Album. And it's two different reads of the song because of the kind of introduction. I believe in the Black Album you have a kind of a Biggie interview where Biggie's saying, the key to kind of staying successful is to approach things as if it's your first time doing it. You have other renditions where you have a kind of different introduction, a different set of clips from interviews being introduced to this song that kind of provide you with a different rereading of the text itself. And I wish I had a certain quote to kind of contextualize that argument as well. I apologize for the technical difficulties. I'm actually looking to currently expand on this argument of the kind of listen, write paradigm that grows out of Lessig's theoretical argument to potentially look at what are the implications of this listen, write theory if you try to apply it to the reception and the kind of public image of hip-hop culture and media. And so I've really been intrigued lately with various interviews that Jay-Z has done, whether it's the BET Blueprint show where he did the interviews with Scoop Jackson and Angie Martinez, the interview that he did with Oprah Winfrey, or even much more interesting was the appearance of Jay-Z on the Bill Maher show, where you see a kind of juxtaposition for hip-hop culture, because I think 2 weeks prior to Jay-Z's appearance on Bill Maher, you had Mos Def on a panel with Cornel West and Christopher Hitchens. And oddly enough, what you get from this interview with Mos Def and Hitchens is that you kind of have Mos Def putting forth conspiracy theories of